Hello and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, or should I say Wednesday's edition, because if you're watching this in India, then by the time this video launches it will be the 22nd of July and not the 21st. Now why does this matter? Well, what we've got on the screen is a really beautiful idea for a puzzle, and this is by Prasanna Seshadri, and it's a birthday tribute to his friend Priyam Bhushan. Now, Priyam is one of our moderators over on our Discord server, and if you haven't checked that out, you really should. It is the most wonderful community of solvers and setters you can imagine. Prasanna's actually a moderator too, and Prasanna's made this puzzle to celebrate Priyam's birthday, which is obviously today if you're in India, 22nd of the 7th. So there are a whole plethora of things that Prasanna has built into this puzzle. It really is quite something. And the testing reports say it's a really, really beautiful solve. It does have a lot of rules, which is ironic given Mark's comments the other night. But I'm quite happy with lots of rules if those rules are justified and they lead to a great puzzle, and that is what we have for you today. Now, before I get into the rules and talk to you a bit about the background for this puzzle, just to mention as well, if you are a supporter of the channel on Patreon, then we have our Patreon reward video for July. That has gone live. It's Mark talking through how to solve our Queen Sudoku, which was the bonus puzzle for July. So do check that out. Now let's look at this, where you can see that Prasanna has built in Priyam's name, Priyam, and then Priyam B. 22 over 7 is very close to being pi, so we have none of the debate about tau in this puzzle. We've got pi down here. We've got 2 and 6 here. Now I'm wondering, I never like to ask a lady's age, but perhaps Priyam is turning 26. And yeah, we've got a whole load of letters in the grid as well. Anyway, let me read you the rules. What have we got going on here? We've got to place the letters A, B, D, H, I, M, P, R, and Y, and or the digits they are assigned to in every row and column. Now that's important. I checked this with one of the testers because I was surprised there are no 3x3 boxes in this puzzle. So we just have to make sure we put the letters, or the numbers obviously, in the rows and columns. Do not worry about 3x3 boxes. They do not exist for the purpose of this puzzle. The 9 letters used in the puzzle represent a different number from 1 to 9. That's why we've put this sort of table down the right hand side to allow you to notate once you identify which letter corresponds to which number. And what else? We've got sorry, there are a lot of instructions. I need to make sure I read them out in order. The letters outside the grid are all skyscraper clues, i.e. each number represents the height of a skyscraper in that cell. And numbers outside the grid indicate the number of visible skyscrapers from the direction where taller buildings obscure smaller buildings behind them. So hopefully most of you are familiar with skyscraper logic, but that is what's going on. So let's say we found that R corresponded to a 3. Then we would have to make sure that as we looked down this column, there were only 3 buildings visible. So we might have, for example, 1, 2, and then 9. So somebody standing on the ground floor at point R would be able to see the building of height 1. They'd be able to see the building of height 2 just behind that. And the building of height 9, obviously that's the biggest building you can put in a row or column. And then after that, doesn't matter what the order is because they wouldn't be able to see past the building of size 9. So that's what's going on with these skyscraper clues. Now we've also got a sort of star battle thing going on. Now this is because Priyam's favourite puzzles apparently are skyscrapers and star battles. So after substitution within the grid, the digits 2 and 6, those 2 and 6 are appearing again, are stars and cannot touch diagonally with other instances of themselves or each other. So basically, yeah, we have a star battle puzzle with 2s and 6s in this grid as well. Now the numbers outside the grid, which there are only 2 numbers, this 2 and this 6, give the number of cells between the stars in that row. Stars cannot be on cells with red squares, and the red squares have no purpose apart from obviously we can't put stars on them, but also at the end of the puzzle apparently we have to read the letters along the red squares, and they are going to have some sort of message. Grey circles contain odd digits, grey squares contain even digits. So that is all of the rules. There are a lot of them, a lot to get my head round, a lot to get your head round when you solve it. Do have a go at the puzzle. You click on the link under the video. And with that, let's get cracking. Now, how do we get cracking here? We could... I am rubbish, by the way, at doing Sudoku with letters rather than numbers. I do not know why. Mark claims it makes no difference to his solving speed, which I find quite strange. So I really don't want to use these letters in the grid for any sort of Sudoku purposes. You can see down column 5 we've got an awful lot of letters. We've only not got A's, I's and Y's. Okay, skyscraper clues. Skyscraper clues are hard enough when you know what the number is, but when you've got encoding of numbers, I'm not sure about that either. What else have we got here? We've got star battle clues. And we don't actually know anything about the star battle clues, I suppose, apart from there's a difference of 6 between the positions of the 2 and 6 in this row. Right, okay, I'm going to start here then. At least I can do something in this row. So if we think about that, 6, there have to be 6 cells between wherever I put the stars. So if I was to put a star here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next position for a star would be here. So we know that there is a star in one of these 2 squares and a star in one of these 2 squares. You can't put a star here because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other star would have to be off the grid. Now, that allows me to at least do some shading, because one of the principles of star battle is that if you're able to lock a star into a domino, you can immediately rule out stars from any of the dominoes sort of above and below. Those cells, I'm going to colour them in green, I think, can't be... these squares here can't be stars if there's a star in one of those 2 and a star in one of these 2. Okay, so now maybe let's do the same logic now. We know there are 2 stars in these 5 yellow squares, and in fact in these 5 yellow squares. So right, yeah, we can do more. Could this square ever be a star, or a 2 or a 6? Well, no, because if it was, it would rule all 3 of those squares out from being stars, and that would mean we could only put 1 star as a maximum in whatever row that is, row 6 of the grid. So actually we can... And I guess down here we can label all of these squares green. They can't contain stars. Ah, now look, this is lovely actually. What a lovely idea. So now, I now know that A, P, Y, H and R are not 2s and 6s. So I suppose I go round the grid, do I, and find all of those. P is not. H is not. Y is not, A is not, P is not. So I don't know about M. Oh, A I do know about. I don't know about M, D, B or I. Is that right? M, D, yeah, I think that's right. So I've got to label all those green and now take another stare at this. Okay. Yeah, well, okay. Now we are getting somewhere actually, because look at row 6. We now know one of those 2 squares. Oh, actually, I was forgetting. I can. There's no star on a red square, is there? So I can label all these ones green as well. And in fact, if a star is a 2 or a 6, I can't put them in odd numbers either. Sorry, that was all available from the very beginning. Now look, well, coming back to row 6 now, this is lovely because all of a sudden I've got to put 2 stars in this row. Well, I can't put 2 stars in a single domino, so that square is a 2 or a 6, and I therefore is a 2 or a 6. And look, we can label all of the cells around that I as green. Now is that going to give us an now B has become green, so I can label that one green. Okay, so I is a 2 or a 6. That might help with the skyscraper clues at some stage. Now look, if we now look at column 6, I've got to put 2 stars in here, so these 2 squares can't contain a star, or I'd rule out both of those squares in column 6. So now we know that D also is not a 2 or a 6. This row 8, we've got 2 dominoes that have to contain stars, so again we can label some. In fact, I can label that one, I've just noticed. That one as well, just by the domino logic. Okay, let me just take another stare at this. Okay, so how do we make more progress here? I feel like we're close to a breakthrough. That square can't be a star because that would rule out both of these 2 squares. There's going to be an instance here, I think. Oh, of course, the 6, let's come back to that. Because now in this, that is the run of 6. That's the only run of 6 that can exist. If I try and make that square green, then this clue would have to turn into a 7. So that's a 2 or a 6. Therefore, this is a 2 or a 6. Therefore, this turns green. And look, we're going to be able to get loads more greens now. That's a green. Now row 8. That must be a 2 or a 6. I'm a massive fan of star battle puzzles, so this really is a treat for me. We get 2s and 6s therefore into row 9. We can place another green. That gives us a 2-6 here. Okay, so what have we learnt as a result of this? This column is full, so I can label both of those green. There must be a star look in this domino, so we can label both of these green. That places a star here, so we get another star now in the middle of the grid. Oh, that's unlucky because it's actually ringed by greens already. Okay. Come on, I must be able to get more. There must be one in those, so those turn green. So we've got... now there as well, look, that domino must... In fact, let's look at column 3. That's just simply got to be a star, and there must be a star in here, so this also turns green. Okay. This rules out that square. That means that's got to be a star. That's an M. Right. So okay, so we now know that M and I are the 2s and 6s. So that's got to be a 2 or a 6. That completes that column. It gives us a green here. That completes this column. That's completable now. That's the last place for a star in column 5. We've now got all the stars that we need in row 1. That places us... Are we going to get all of these stars now? That's green. This, I think we are. 2, 6 here. This turns green. We are, aren't we? Because now this must be a star in column 1. That finishes this one. Is not a star. Now this is the only place for a star in the final column. That fixes this one and gives us a star here. Is that everything? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9. I think this is okay and nothing is touching. So there you go. That's the star battle puzzle. We've done the star battle. Now what have we learnt from this? We've learnt that M... Oh, yeah, okay. So if I know that M and I are 2 and 6, this square in column 5 must be an A. Now, is that useful? So if this is an A, I'm just going to highlight the positions of A's, because we seem to have a lot of A's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's only 2 to place. So where have they got to go? Ah, yeah, okay, there's Sudoku we can do here, look, because look at row 7 of the grid. I've got to put an A in there, and I know A is not 2 or 6, and every other column has an A in it already, so I think that has to be an A. And that means presumably the last A goes there. So this is the constellation of A's, and that... Ah, okay, so now this is interesting. This one is on... This A here is on a grey square, so it's even. And it's not 2 or 6. So A's are 4s or 8s. Whoa, that's... Oh, and in this column, or this row, we've got another even cell. So that's so we've now identified all of the even numbers in row 9. Prasanna's email, when he submitted this puzzle, said that this was quite straightforward, this puzzle. This doesn't feel straightforward to me. Oh, hang on. Now look at the A skyscraper clue, maybe. This has got to be a 4 or an 8. So if this was an 8... No, you can't get... No, I don't think that works, because 8 as a skyscraper clue is immensely constraining. You've got to... Because this would be an 8 as well, this would have... The remaining cells in the grid would have to be a perfect run down of 9, 7, 6, that's possible. 5, 4, 3, 2, this would have to be a 1, and it can't be. So I think A has to be 4. I think that feels like good logic, so I'm going to go with that. So now that means I can label all of the A's in the grid as being 4s. So let's do that and see what that looks like. That's an A there, that's an A. So all of these turn into 4s. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I've got to put the 4 in there as well. 4. That's all of the A's labelled. This becomes an 8 now. Okay. Now what do we do next? These are... Oh, that's got to be... Oh, well, that's got to be... Oh, no, that's... Oh, I was about to write an 8 in there because it was a square, but it's not a grey square, it's a red square. So I must remember, red squares just can't... In fact, red squares are now irrelevant, aren't they? Because I've placed all the 2s and 6s, and I just have to remember at the end to read a message down this diagonal. So I can ignore the red squares. I tell you what is interesting. All of these, yeah, all of these columns now with the letters of pream in them can't. None of the letters of pream can be a 9, because a 9 skyscraper clue obviously requires a perfect column, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can see none of these can do that. So B, no, B can't do that. So pream and B are not 9. So what are 9? Well, what are the possibilities of a 9 then? We've got D, H, should be what? Oh no, pream and B is actually 7 letters. So D or H is D or H is 9, but A is 4. So if we made D 9, this could not be a 4 skyscraper clue because it could only see a maximum of 3 squares. So 9, H is 9. H is 9. We can put some 9s in the grid. H is 9. I'm going to fill it in my table. Right, so now R has to be a maximum of 5. Oh yes, this is good. This is good, because if R has to be, well, it can't be 3, because, sorry, it can't be 4 because we know A is 4, but R has to be 1, 2 or 3 therefore, or 5. It could be 5. But look at this clue now. That means this square has to be 1, 2, 3 or 5. But A has to be a 4 skyscraper clue. So if this began with a 6, this would have to be 7, 8, 9 in order to make the A clue work for the skyscraper. So that's absolutely impossible, given this can never be a 7. So this has to be a 2. This can't be a 1 or a 2 therefore. So R is now 3 or 5. R is 3 or 5, and the 2 here, is that going to, maybe that gives us all of the, so now we know M is 6 and I is 2, and presumably, are we going to get all of these? I think we will. We're going to get loads of these 2s and 6s disambiguated. Let me just do this. That's a 6, 2, 6, 2, 6. So now R is 3 or 5 and M is 6. M is 6. Ooh, that is a problem. M is 6, but that 9 is here in position 7s, and the 4 and the 2 are out of order. So this has to be perfect. It has to go increasing. Ignore this square, and then it has to increase from, so this can't be 3. If this is 3, you can't make this skyscraper be of size 6, because this has to increase from the 4. So this has to be a 5. This has to be a 7 or an 8. R is 5 now. And if, well, in fact, look, we can place these 2 digits as well, because we have to be increasing until we get to the 4, and we can't use 2 in either of those squares. So this has to be 1, this has to be 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is just about going to work. Oh, now in fact there's an 8 there, so that has to be, this can only be a 7, and we get to complete the column. 7, 8. And okay, so now I've still got to do Y, P, D and B. But all of a sudden it's looking like it's possible, isn't it? It feels like we've made good progress all of a sudden. This square, D, has to be between 5 and 9 and can't be 6. So D has to be 7 or 8. So what have we got now? We've still not got the 1. And P sees a 3 in its row. So P can't be 3. So P has to be 1, 7 or 8. That's the only option. So either B or Y is 3. B... we don't know very much about this column. Y. Don't really know much about this column either. Sorry, let me just try and get my head around something else then. So I is 2. Oh, I is 2. Ah, that's important, look. That is important. I is 2. So where do I put the 9 in this row? P can't be 9, so we know it's not here. If I try and put the 9 here, what do the Y clue would have to equal, the Y skyscraper clue would have to be equal to 2, and it can't be because I is 2. So the 9 doesn't go there. It can't go there, or the I would be a 1. There, this is 9. 9 must go there. And this, therefore, has to be higher than 4. So that has to be a 7 or an 8. Oh, and that fixes P. That fixes P, doesn't it? Because P has to be 1, 7 or 8. As a skyscraper clue outside the grid, you can't possibly put a 7 or an 8 now, because this square has to be a 7 or an 8. Which means even if this was a 7, the maximum we get was 1, 2, 8, 9, a 4 clue, not a 7 or an 8. So P has to be a 1. Yeah, the P has to be a 1. That's the only valid option. And once P is 1, not only can I write P's into the grid, or 1s into all the P positions, but now, in order for these skyscraper clues to work, that has to be a 9. Okay, now do we get more from that? Now, what was R? R was 5. Well, so this has to be a 3, because this has to increase. Well, it's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This can't be a 1 or a 2, so that square's a 3. This has got to be, that could be a 5 or a 7, and that could be a 7 or an 8. This could be a 5 or a 7, because there's an 8 in the row, so this square is an 8 by sort of semi-sudoku, or column sudoku. Now, what have we got now? So I've still got to place 3, 7 and 8 as the other options here. So let's try and work out what's what. This square, that square's got to be odd because it's a circle clue. And it can't be 1, 3 or 9, so that's got to be 5 or 7. And Y has to be, well, Y can't be 7 or 8 as a skyscraper clue. That's absolutely impossible again, because if this is a 5, the maximum skyscraper clue would be 5, 6, in fact the 8's even hidden. So 5, 6, 7, 9, 4 would be the absolute maximum. So 7 and 8 are impossible. This is a 3. Y is 3, so we can place some 3's in the grid. Oh, and now we can ask, oh, where does the 9 go in this column? Look, it can't go here or here, or, oh, Sorry, I'm misscanning. It can't go there either. So it can't go in those two positions. So this is the 9. And this has to be a 3 clue. And the what? Where do we put a 1? We can just do this, I think, by sudoku, can't we? So these two squares have to be 5 and 7 now. And 5, 7, 9 is 3, which is what we're after. So now we're left with B and D for 7 and 8. So let's label this one up, this one up. And I'm hopeful that we've sort of broken the back of this now. Let's just, yeah, if we look at this column, where do we place the 3? It can only go in the middle. We need 1, 7 and 8 into those squares. Let's label that up. That square's got to be odd, look. And it can't be a 7 or a 9, so this has got to be 1, 3 or 5. That is far less good than I was hoping. So now, what clues haven't we used? We've not used, we've done M, we've done A, we've done Y, we've done I is irrelevant. R is all but done. We get no more information. I here, yeah, we can fill in that's an 8. Let's look at this row. Look, we need 5 and 7 into the extremities. We can certainly label that up. B has to be 7 or 8. So if this was a 5, that would break that. That can't be a 5. In fact, I'm not sure that can be a 3. If that was 3, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 7 possible. I think it might be. That's annoying. So if this is 3, 1, 2. This could be 5. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we'd still have 7 or 8 possible. I really would like to limit this square. I think that's probably. Let's look at this row. We need 5, 7 and 8. So that one's got to be 5, 7 or 8. This one's got to be 5, 7 or 8 again. That one, not quite, is it? Could do with placing more 5s, it feels like. 2s and 6s. Let's have a look down here. We need 1, 5, 7 and 8. Again, it's no use. 1, 5, 7, 8. That's 5, 7 or 8. That's 1, 5 at the bottom. 1, 3, 5, 9. Oh, that's not. I was about to say that's even, but it's not. So 1, 3, 5, 9 into those squares. 7, 8. Maybe I should just look along this column and make sure I pencil mark everything in. This square's got to be 3, 5 or 7. This square's got to be 1, 3, 5 or 7. So that can't be 7 because we know B is 7 or 8. And in order for B to be 7 or 8, is it possible that this, it's not possible for this to be 7 because then the maximum size of the skyscraper could be 6. So that gives us in fact the 7. The 7 must go there, which gives us a 5 over there. This is not 5 therefore. It's still not remarkably helpful. I feel like there's some clue I'm not using properly here. So I've done. Oh, I tell you what, if we make this a 3 now, because this would be forced to be a 5, that would be a problem for the skyscraper because we go 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this can't be 3, that's got to be 1. Therefore this is 5. Let's eliminate 5 from those two squares. This square becomes a 1. This can't be a 1 or a 5, and this can't be a 1. Okay, maybe we're closing in now. So let's revisit this column. This has to be a 7 or an 8. 1. If this was 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If this was 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, impossible. So B is 8. Wow, okay, B is 8, so that must be useful. 7, 5 all gets fixed. We can place B as 8 in there. 8. D is now 7. Let's make sure we fill in that side of the grid. That can't be 8. That can't be 8. 3, 9, 3, 9, 7, 8 here. This 8 here fixes the order. 8, 7. Removes 8 from both of these squares. Those two squares have got to be 1 and 3. We can fix those now. That fixes the 1 and the 7. 3, 8, 9 into those squares. That's got to be a 9. Oh, lovely. That's nice. This is nice. That gives us an 8 here. This has got to be 3, 9. That's fixable. This square's got to be a 5 by whatever you call this version of Sudoku. 7, 8, and there you go. I think that's the puzzle. I'll click no, check just will not work. I'm not clicking check. That's going to break all sorts of check functions. I'm happy to announce, working on a new version of our software which will have a more sophisticated check function. Anyway, let's see what this message spells now. So we've got 9, we've got H-A, oh, is this happy? H-A-P-P-Y, yes, B D-A-Y, happy B-Day, happy birthday. Well, happy birthday, Priyam. I hope you enjoyed watching me solve it. Thank you for all the work you do as a moderator on the Discord channel. It really is appreciated. Prasanna, I hope Priyam likes the present. I think that is a stunning, stunning present. Wow. Yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed it too. Do let me know in the comments, and we'll be back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.